Alright, in this video, I want to talk about some things I've changed in my life and some things that I've been doing recently where I feel different, real different. And I want to suggest these things to you to see if you want to apply them to your life and to see what comes of it. But if you're like me, you might have just been thinking I'm getting old because I just don't have the same energy or the motivation, and it's just getting tough to get going. And not that necessarily you're depressed or anything like that. It's just don't have the strength and the energy to really do much, and you really got to fight through things to really do it because you know you need to get it done, right? And then after my wife passed, dealing with that, and I guess depression's a real thing there. You kind of lose even some more motivation. You just, like, what's the point kind of thing, right? The world keeps going, but my world has stopped. So it's like, what are you supposed to do kind of thing, right? And it's one of those things where it doesn't just heal and go away. You just kind of get used to it, right? Kind of like as you get older, you probably develop some kind of sore joint, whether it's a knee, your hip, your back, a shoulder, maybe your wrist or something. And it's just always sore. It's always aching. And after a while, you just kind of get used to it. It's not as if it ever heals or goes away. You just kind of get used to the fact that it's sore and that's how it's going to be, right? And you just kind of push through life. And that's how things have been, right? And I know a lot of people, I've been seeing some things, especially just kind of flipping through TikTok. I almost called it Death Talk. That was weird because I was thinking of the death scroll. And I see a lot of people talking about this void, right? They might not call it a void, but just this emptiness and this hard to get up and, like, not just care for themselves, but to even care for their children. And I just feel bad for these people. And I want to talk to them about Jesus, but a lot of times I don't want to talk about Jesus. Like, but Jesus is what's going to be able to dwell within you, to help you from the inside out, to change you from the inside out, that you can overcome this. Because that's who I'm relying on to get through what I'm going through, right? And it's just rough. Because I was like, yeah, I kind of feel it. Not as strong as these people, but I just, like, feel weak. I feel tired, right? It's tough, right? And from this time, there's obviously this one thing that I guess I have to mention because it may be part of this whole reason why I'm feeling pretty good. So I got to mention this first thing, even though this isn't something that's recent. But oh, I didn't turn this thing on. Let's do that here. And that's right here, celibacy here, and that includes not self-pleasure kind of thing, right? It's retention. So this has been going on for a few months there. So I think this might play a role in this as well. So I just felt like mentioning it, right? Because if you want to do that, you might notice a change in you as well. But recently, within the last week, I've been doing some things differently because I've been looking at my wife's supplementation and thinking about the stuff we were trying to do and wondering how well some of these things worked. And I think some of them helped a lot because her immune system was fine. Even in her condition, she never ended up getting sick. Even though we thought she was getting sick, they could never find anything wrong. It was actually just what she had, which I would tell you what it was. But you can't mention it in certain places, right? But it has to do with this letter right here. And this is what actually got her. It wasn't her immune system failing and something else getting her. It was that. And one of the things that we were looking at that I was decided to take a look at was ivermectin. And we got I don't know how many. I'm gonna say a dozen tubes of this stuff, and this is for horses. We knew that, hey, this is like a dog dewormer, and we tried to look for it, but we couldn't get that. But we ended up finding the horse dewormer, and people were worried about, oh, it's for horses. And it's like, yeah, you can look into it and see that it's not going to really harm you. There's some side effects where they say there's nausea or headaches, but my wife never mentioned any issue, and I'll tell you my experience right now. But with her, we started off with just something no bigger than an eraser size once in the morning, and she had no issues. So we did one in the morning, one in the evening, no issues. Then we did one in the morning, one midday, and one at night. And she had no issues. She never said, hey, I think this is because of this. There's a new side effect. Never said anything about it. And never said she didn't want to take it. So, with her experience, I can say that there was no issues, no nausea, no headaches, nothing wrong, right? And it's actually supposed to help fight this thing that she had too. One of the reasons why we were looking into it, doing everything we can to try to help. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try taking it. And I didn't start off slow. I've been 4 times a day taking an eraser size portion of it. And the only side effect is what I expected. And this you might not want to hear, but it's to help you out, let you know that you might experience the same thing. But I had 2 days in a row. The first day was a bit worse than the second day, but both times I had a bowel movement that was weird. The first time it was a lot more of it, but it was weird looking turd that looked like a bunch of turds that were, I'm going to say, 2-inch long, roughly around that size, worms. That's what they looked like, right? So it was either crap that looked like worms or worms that were caked in crap, right? I know you don't want to hear that, but that's what it was. And then the same thing happened the next day. I've been taking it for about a week now, and that has subsided. So I think that it worked. And this might be playing a part in how I'm feeling. But there's still 2 other things. And that is, I've started taking creatine. And I was hoping that this would just give me a little boost of energy and what I need to just get through, right? Getting old, figuring, yeah, might as well, right? Just taking about 5 grams of it a day, and this I think is playing a part in feeling good. And the last thing is I decided to take the supplement she had. I'm not sure if I'm going to spell this right. I'm not sure if that's how it's spelled, but magnesium, a magnesium supplement. And I basically started all of this roughly the same time. Like within a day of each other, I started doing all of this. And the last couple of days, even after working out and even pushing myself a little bit, I'm not really as sore as I thought I would be. And I'm not really as tired. Like right now, I'm very alert, very aware, and I'm feeling pretty good. Like I feel like this is how I ought to feel normally, right? Like not where I have energy from like an energy drink where I'm like got the jitters and all ready to go. But I'm also not like, oh man, I don't even want to get up to go to the bathroom. Right? It's a really good alertness. And if I needed to do something, I got the energy and the willingness, the motivation to do it. Right? And I think it has a lot to do with this here. This might be playing a big part of that as well, because I'm not releasing any of this stuff through that way, keeping it all in. And I think there's spiritual things to this as well. So I think this is something you might want to try out. It might change you as well. It could be just this here that did it, because I flushed some things out that were stealing energy. Maybe. It could be this, because this is supposed to boost also mental clarity and his stuff, to your mind as well, not just as your muscle for working out. Could be that. And magnesium. Magnesium is tied to a lot of functions in your body that require energy for your cells and everything going on. So that could be a big part of it as well. And it could just be all of this or all four. It really could. But I can't mention this without mentioning some other things as well. And that is spiritual things. Now, the first thing I do when I wake up is pray. The last thing I do before I go to bed is pray. And then the next thing I try to do is read a chapter. And a lot of times I'll even use this app to read it out loud. It's like an audio Bible. And I'll read that one chapter 2 or 3 times in the morning. I'll read the next chapter 2 or 3 times in the middle of the day sometime. And then read the following chapter 2 or 3 times at night before I end up going to bed. And that's like the minimum amount of reading, right? Not to mention the prayers throughout the day that, things come to your head where you want to pray for somebody or you just need some help in some way. So I can't say that hasn't been helping, where, you ask God for help and he brings you to this point where he cleans you up. He clears you out. And the last thing I would like to say to end this is talking about prayers is I mentioned this ivermectin to my nephews, right? Because I was saying, hey, this is something that may help you out, right? Because we all have these times where we're feeling like crap, we don't have the energy, and we crave foods that we know we ought not to be eating or we want to stay away from, but we just crave them. And it could be because of parasites, and you need to get them out. So I mentioned ivermectin, and I mentioned that for about a week now. I've been taking it, and I noticed a weird thing going on in the stool there. So I think there's something to this. And one of my nephews says, I don't know because of the risks. And I was like, okay, what are these risks you're worried about? Because the only thing that really showed up when you look into it is, maybe some nausea or a headache, which is something you may get from any kind of medicine that you get from the pharmacy, whether it's over the counter or prescribed, right? A lot of the stuff you see on TV commercials is some of the side effects are you could potentially take a dirt nap, right? You could be pushing up daisies as one of the side effects, so just be worried about that. That could happen. So the risks for this stuff is not really extreme. Anything that may be an issue would be from using it constantly. This is probably something you would just use, like I'm using it 4 times a day for like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, making sure you flushed everything out, and then maybe a little bit once every other day, once a week, just to make sure you're keeping that stuff out. And it's a very small amount, so it shouldn't have any really big effects. And for some reason, he just kept fighting on this. Like, I don't know, the risks seemed pretty bad. And it was like, well, what's the risks? And he'd never named anything at all. Just said some people in the comments said, there's risks. I was like, okay, so what are they that's worrying you so much that you have to say something about not doing it? Like, why are you fighting against this when you don't really have any reason to do so? He's just saying the risks. I don't agree with you. We just disagree. I was like, yeah, but you're disagreeing with me for no reason. If you disagree with me, share with me exactly why. What is it that you're worried about? The risks. The risks. Well, what are they? And wouldn't bring them up. Would talk about other things, and he even started saying some mean things, trying to provoke in different ways. Started to be kind of, passive aggressive and poking and prodding and being a jerk while calling me a jerk. And I was just sitting there taking it. And I was pointing out to him, hey, you talking about these risks here. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because I want you to pray for him. Because I'm worried about him. I think there's something going on, because he was saying, oh, last night he felt this slimy hand on him. Something like a ghostly spiritual kind of thing. And then all of a sudden he's acting like this. I'm not sure where he's at with his actual belief, right? And, where his heart is on all this. But, yeah, there's something off there. So I pray you pray for him and for his influence, because he actually has an influence over the rest of the family, especially the younger ones there. And where he was fighting on this when I was trying to tell him, hey, this is something to look into. Not saying, hey, you have to take it, you better go take it. But he was just fighting it seemingly for no reason. And he was worried about these risks. But then, at the same time, he made some of these other things that he liked to do and still does, maybe not as often. And even makes them look like they're good and they're fun, but they have no benefits. This stuff right here, ivermectin, there's actually benefits to it, worth any risk you may actually face from taking it. You get rid of some parasites within you, and you get a little bit nauseated and get a headache from it. I don't think that's a big deal. Not a big deal at all. That's well worth it, right? But he would say, oh, doing this other thing, we'll just call it topic 1. We're not going to get into it. This is one topic he's like, oh yeah, this was fun. I had all these fun times on this, reminisce about this stuff and how much he did of this stuff and all that. And there's no benefit. We'll put no B for there. No benefit from this. And there is risks that are worse than this. But the ivermectin, he was fighting, and he just kept fighting. But this, he's not fighting about that. Not a big deal at all. He's not going to get on his brother about this stuff, about, hey, you better not do this topic number 1 here. But he's going to fight about this for some reason. And then we got topic number 2, another topic that there's no benefit in doing it. Or it's just something you do for your own pleasure, your own fun. And if you take that as a benefit, okay. But it has no actual benefit to your health, your well-being, or anything like that, right? But there's also risks from taking it. And he's not going to say, oh, no, don't ever do this, right? But he's going to keep fighting about not taking that for some reason. He's like, you're not being consistent here. And then he was just acting like I'm attacking him. I'm being a jerk. He doesn't know what my problem is. And he's like, well, I'm trying to help you all, telling you about something that is beneficial. But you're fighting against it for no reason. I think that's weird. And I'm not just going to back off because you have an influence. Our other family members are listening or reading in on this conversation, and I don't want them to just side with you because, there's risks, and now they're going to be afraid. But you're not going to mention the risks. Be like, okay, if there's risks, tell everybody what they are. What's the big deal that they got to worry about this? But also mention that, hey, what about the risks from these things? You don't mention these, the risks from all that, right? You're being inconsistent. Not to mention there's also a third topic, encouraging one of my nephews to go do this thing, go be a man. I guess that's what I'll call it. And there's no need for him to be doing that, especially at his age. Something he can worry about when he's older, right? And there's plenty of risks with this. Not only that, what he's telling him is basically just a sin. You probably can imagine what it is. But he's encouraging him to do that, but there's risks in that, and it's a sin. This is okay, but I'm going to fight against this because you might get a headache, you might get some nausea thing. And then he was saying, oh, I just think it's weird that all this is happening after, I had this thing touch me, this slimy hand touch me. But like, all right, well, that's kind of weird that you're feeling that. I mean, you're supposed to be a born-again Christian. You're supposed to be protected from these things. Why are these things still messing with you if you're a born-again believer? Just the other day, we were talking about characters. There's characters like in stories. All right, we have character, we'll put A, and character B here, right? Now, character A has a good character, but he's weak compared to character B physically. Character B has a bad actual character, as in who he is, but he's strong physically. And he was choosing this guy over actually two people who are like this because of the strength. Now I was telling him, well, this is kind of revealing who you are. You're revealing your mindset where you're looking at physical strength over the heart, right? You're ignoring the heart and you like somebody because of the physical ability. This is like when Israel was going to get a king, they had Saul, who physically looked like the guy, and David was just his kid. Right? And you're saying no to David because I want the strength. Right? I'm like, this is revealing something about you. And he was just kind of thinking, this is not even a big deal. And he's like, it is. The fact that you're blind to this, to see that this shows something about you, is concerning. And he's like, oh, maybe I'm blind. And it's like, that's not a good thing. If you're even willing to admit you're blind, this again shows that there's an issue with your relationship with God, if it even exists, because there's no reason for you to be blind to this and not look at this as a big deal. Because during this conversation, he says, all I want is Jesus and to get closer to him, and he's all I desire. And I was like, well, if that's true, why wouldn't you desire people who are like him? Like, if you truly wanted Jesus, you would go after people who are like him in character. But instead, you're going after someone who is not like him in character at all. I'm like, again, this is showing your heart. And he just, no, it's not what's going on. You're looking too far into this and all this. And it's like, no, I'm not. You're looking too shallow into it. You think it's just meaningless. It's not. The things that we think, the things that we say, the things that we do, the things that we don't say, the things that we don't do, reveal our heart. And he just doesn't get it. And not only that, he has an influence on the younger ones in the family. Tries to act like he doesn't, but he obviously does. If you could see it, you'd see it. You'd know, right? But he just kind of wants to dismiss that, because he doesn't want to admit that responsibility or, and see that he has to make changes. It's not about, oh, I believe the gospel. All right, well, now walk the Christian walk and bring forth fruit. Right? Show us that you believed. Prove it. Right? Where's the change in your heart? Where's the change in your character? You say a lot of things, but they don't mean anything if you don't back them up with what you do and don't do. So I'm kind of worried about him. All right, I think he's kind of going through the motions, being Laodicean, maybe even just being fake. My wife wasn't a big fan of him. Just looked at him as a snake, and I'm starting to believe her and be like, yeah, I thought there's something to him, but I think he's being deceptive. It's more of a just, that's how it appears to be. It's not something like, oh, I got definitive proof, like I got pictures of him shapeshifting or something crazy like that. It's like, no, metaphorically, that's how he seems to be. Like, if you want Jesus, why are you attracted to characters that are the opposite of him in character? Right? If you're for the truth, why are you fighting something that could benefit everybody with no justifiable reason to do so? And if you say it's because of risks, why don't you apply that same reasoning and logic to everything else you do? Like, oh, don't do these other things because of the risks, but you're going to go do them anyway when there's no benefit to doing it. But when this thing has actual benefit, no, can't do it because there's risks. But I can't really name them and really what the big deal is, right? And if he even watches this video and I'm saying the same thing over and over and over and over to him, he just seems to either be blind to it where he can't see what I'm saying, or he's deaf to it, he can't hear what I'm saying, or he's just being rude and ignoring what I'm saying. Because I was saying this to him over and over and over and over, and he just kept making it about me making him try to look like a bad guy, me just being a jerk. It's like, bro, I'm going to sit here and shine light on the truth here. I'm going to do what is right. And if that makes me a jerk, I'm going to be a jerk. I don't care if you're calling me a jerk, mocking me about being a perfect Christian or holier than thou. And it was just like, what? So I can't say anything about anything? Or else that means I'm perfect and sinless? Right? It's just an excuse to be like, you can't say anything because you're not perfect. Yeah, I can say whatever I want. I can say, hey, this is wrong. Oh, well, you're holier than thou because you're calling out that as wrong. Well, no. That's not what's going on. I'm calling out something wrong because it's wrong. All right, if we saw someone cheating on their spouse and be like, hey, what you're doing ain't right. You need to make that right. You need to do something about that. Oh, you're holier than thou. Oh, the perfect Christian over here. It's like what you're doing there is just trying to get me to shut up about what you're doing. You're not being slick, right? You're just trying to ignore the fact that you're in sin, you're wrong, and that you don't want to correct yourself. And I'm thinking he's having trouble looking at in the mirror, to be honest. I don't think he's really looking at himself, because a lot of times in these two conversations we were having about the characters and about ivermectin, there's a couple times he mentioned something about, like, I'm a good guy, and then later on he said, I am not evil. But you see, the thing is no one said, hey, you're not a good guy, you're evil. No one really said that. When he brought it up, I would say, well, we're all sinners, we're all evil, only God is good. So in that sense, yeah. But where he would say this, I'm a good guy, I'm not evil, it's as if he was trying to convince himself. And he actually sees himself as that. Right? And That's what I mean about he's having trouble looking in the mirror. He doesn't really see himself and can really admit that he's not a good guy and he is evil. He can't admit that. Right? He can't admit the truth because he can't look in the mirror, and he needs help to do it. And I pray that you would join me in praying for him, that he's able to look in the mirror and eat some humble pie, and that his influence, at least when he's influencing to do something wrong, would be broken over our family. Right? If he wants to influence on these things, I pray that his influence over doing that would be broken, because that ain't right. Where he's going to encourage these things, whether directly, indirectly, or by his own example, but then for no reason call out something that can help. There's something not right going on here. Not right at all. Right? And it's as if like he wants us to see him as a good guy and not evil. Right? Like, look, I'm doing these things, right? I did these things. He'd even mention, hey, I brought us all together so we can talk about the gospel and everything, right? And all this. And it's like, yeah, that's a good thing. That's a great thing. But that doesn't mean we're not going to say anything when you do something wrong. Be like, oh, I helped at the soup kitchen. Now I can go cheat on my wife. Be like, I helped at the soup kitchen. Hey, don't say I was helping at the soup kitchen. I can do this. That's not how it works, right? Just because you did something good doesn't mean you overlook something that you're doing that is wrong, right? And it was strange because he was just taking it so personal about, hey, you're fighting against me for no reason. Why? What are these risks? And these other things have risks, but you're fine with doing them and other people doing them. You don't say, hey, don't do these things because of the risks. Right? It's just very inconsistent. And now I'm just kind of going on rambling about it because it's just something it's bothersome. Because I can't tell if he's just blind to it or if he's just lying, trolling, just being deceptive, pretending like he doesn't see it just so he can ignore it and frustrate you. Because you can't force him to accept the truth. It's kind of like somebody you're telling, hey, 2 plus 2 equals 4. And they're like, no, it's not. Well, after you've explained to them, right, 2 fingers over here on this hand, and then 2 fingers over here on this hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's up, when you add 2 and 2 together, you're always going to get 4. Nope. Well, then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do with somebody that just won't accept the truth and will believe a lie because that's what they want to believe? Not because it's true, but just because it's what they want to believe. What are you going to do with someone like that? There's like something wrong with them. And it's a waste of time and take away your peace to sit there and just try to convince somebody who doesn't even care about the truth and won't accept it, even if it's blatantly obvious to them that it's true. They're not going to accept it because they don't want the truth. So it's like you just don't waste your time. And it's only for the sake of the influence of others that I even put the time into it. The first thing about the characters was just trying to encourage him to walk the Christian walk, to be like, hey, you should stop focusing on the power of a certain character and his strength and start to look more at his heart and his character, because that's what's truly important. It's like looking at a sport, like football, for example. You're drafting players. A lot of times they look into their character because you can end up coming across a very talented quarterback who's supposed to lead the team. And he's probably the most talented quarterback that anybody can remember coming out, right? Just gifted. But he has a piss-poor attitude, a me attitude, And you're never going to win anything, which a lot of quarterbacks have done who have had so much talent. Like a Dan Marino, a Jeff George, someone like along those lines, a Ryan Leaf. Just talent, but a piss poor attitude. And then when you grab somebody who doesn't have the same talent, but a really good attitude, like someone I'm seeing like now on the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, not the most talented passer. A lot of quarterbacks better arm than he does. But he has this leadership ability, this integrity to him, where he leads the team, right? Because there's a lot about heart, right? And there's trying to use that to show him that importance. But he doesn't have a teachable spirit, doesn't want to learn, just wants to justify going some other direction. And I'm starting to think that he's just trying to relate with me to try to get some kind of cred of being a Christian so that he can spew his nonsense to be manipulative and controlling, and who knows what else he wants to do with it. That's what I'm starting to think. So please pray for me and him and my family about all this, and take a look at these things. I think they might help you. So, with all that being said, thank you for watching. If you see that I'm fighting that good fight, I'm trying to help, please pray to our Heavenly Father real quick that He'd keep me going, keep this ministry growing, and put a hedge of protection around us, all those born-again believers, to keep us keeping on no matter what comes away until He comes and gets us. And just an amen in Jesus' name to that should be all I need. But if you want to help us some more, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the video, share the channel, interact in the comments section. These things help out a lot. Draw some attention, get the truth out there, help out some people, connect with others, with praying for one another, uplift each other in prayer, and uplift each other's prayers and everything, supporting one another. And I'm not monetized, so if you want to and if you're able to, big keys there, wanting to and being able to. I have 4 ways you can financially support in the info box below. If you would do so, that would be greatly appreciated. Make sure this keeps going there. But one way or another, I know I'm going to be keeping on because it's God's will. He's got a plan, and it's going to be carried out one way or another. And I trust in that. So, with all that being said, thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for your prayers and your support. And I appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. Take care. I'll see you in the next one.